Hello everyone and welcome to this video by backinmydaygames.com. I'm Airborne Cow and today we are going to be going through the NPC chat engine for Cryptic Tale 2. Cryptic Tale 2 is recently in development for updates. Follow backinmydaygames.com to check out our blog, check out our games, and also on Devil Team as well. You can see the latest sprites and things that I'm developing, as well as when the next videos are going to be coming out and things like that. And that's Airborne Cow at Devil Team. Alright, so let's jump into Unity here and see how the chat engine that I've developed is going to work. Keep in mind the UI interfaces that you're going to be seeing in these videos are not the finished product. They are going to be so much more than what you're going to see, but the basis of it and the way that it's going to work is correct. So first of all, I developed this with SQLite, and I have this DB browser for SQLite tool that I like to use to navigate things. The way I set up my database, we're going to be focusing on the chats. The chat's template's going to be the main one where all the story and everything's derived from. So it'll make a copy of this to chats underscore file 1 or chats underscore file 2 and things like that, and then loaded back in to the chat's temp. The chat's temp is going to be what is queried, if you will, when the player is actually in gameplay. So it's the live things that are happening, and obviously if you don't save your game, you don't want to save your chat. So there's a temporary table that is going to house all the chats and everything like that. The way I have this set up is we have the type request along with the type, not because it can be anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily be a quest. It could be receiving an item or something like that, or maybe it's just a chat that a particular NPC has, and we want to display that. The NPC name, so that way we know that this is the chat that we want the player to receive when they're interacting with an interactable in our game. Status for updates. There's different chats depending on what the status is. Obviously, if you're talking to somebody and it's a quest, and you're just talking for the first time, it's going to be a different dialogue, maybe with a yes or no question. Then after you accept the request, and then you have the quest goes into receive status, and you get a whole new dialogue. And I'm not going to focus on too much on showing you all of the technical details because this isn't a tutorial. I'm not showing you how to make a database for your game and create your own chat engine. This is my chat engine that I wrote all the code for. So this is mine. If you have questions, go ahead and put comments or email at backinmydaygames.com@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can get to or help you. And in the future, I might be looking at, working with other people as well and might want to help you build your NPC chat engine or something like that. So you have these different statuses, whether or not the reward was given, and that also interacts with the quest table. So there's a quest. The quests work the same way. They have the same line of procedures and how it happens, and there's a status for it of not started, started. Is it complete? Did you receive it? So that way it knows, okay, the player received the quest, and you have this flag here that, will just show that that happened. So first, we're going to jump into our Unity, and here's my test scene of the engine. And the way that it's developed is I created my own classes and everything, and those are going to be called in. And honestly, the whole thing is going to be generated programmatically, so that way I have more use for it. One thing that I learned from Cryptic Tale 1 when I was developing that is the way I created the chat engine, you had to go in and hard code that chat and decisions and everything like that, and it just got to be way too much. And I know that the asset store probably has things to take care of that, but I'm a, I knew I could write my own, so I wrote my own, and that's how it's gonna be. So I'm gonna jump into Visual Studio here, and we have my chat engine class that does different things. You can pass a static chat to it, so you can achieve static hard-coded chat elements in that manner, or you can use the database and receive chats by querying it for the NPC. And if there's a chat there, it knows to interact with you in a certain way. And this is not a big script about not even what it says here, because all the spaces and syntax and everything. Um, the buttons and everything are added depending on the decisions as well as their events. And so I have code here that just adds events to those buttons as they are generated as they're needed for the chat. As well as passing that whole game object, there's a prefab of that chat engine. So the UI itself is a prefab, and that prefab needs to be passed to this class for it to work. I also have written a database class, and next week, if you join me, I'll be showing the inventory system and how that's going to work. And I was working on some of the code for that this week, and it's been going relatively smooth. And honestly, I came up with some ideas, and I think I have something good as far as that goes. So the SQLite database, SQLite, it's it's very light and it's very easy to use. So I highly recommend starting out with that if you're a beginner and want to get started using SQL, because there's so much help online for that. I'm more of a MySQL guy. Is in my professional environment. I'm a web developer, so I use a lot of MySQL. Before that, I was a desktop app programmer, so I use SQL Server. So this was my first experience with SQLite, and while it seemed to have lacked certain features of the other ones, it gets the job done, and I could see it getting the job done for a lot of games. And you probably don't need much more than that, and it's pretty portable, it seems, so that's good too. And I have the test script that's just sitting on the camera. The idea for this game, there's not going to be all these scripts just everywhere, and it's hard to keep track of. So a lot of things are going to be happening programmatically as I develop the game, and as you see just content added to the game as things are happening. One thing, and like for the chat engine itself, I found it very easy to use a couple classes and get what I need done. For the inventory system that you'll see next week, I realized a couple things, and realized that I could do it much easier in a different fashion that is still very uh, programmatically generated, where it's not the scripts aren't going to be everywhere. It's going to be, that prefab will be all I need, and it'll interact with a couple classes as well, because there's certain things in inventory that you want your hero to be able to do. So first off, I have this make refresh table where I can make refreshes of those templates into the temp table. When the reason I wrote it like this is because obviously when you're starting a file game, when you're going to be starting from a file, you're going to be refreshing from that file table to the temp and not the template to the temp. But when you're starting a new game, you're always going to go from the template to the temp. So you're going to have those templated chats to the chats temp, and those templated quests to the quest temp. And I guess the whole point of a video is to show you things. So we'll go ahead and look at that little procedure here. Go to definition, and it does a delete of the table and an insert from the other table, and that's really all there is to it. There's really nothing behind that procedure, and that's I really did enjoy that SQLite. Okay, so when I run this, it's going to go ahead and make refreshes of those temp tables for us, and then I'm going to comment it out and then show you the rest of the features. But my first run, I would like to show you how the actual static chat works, that I can call it in from any way I want. So it'll take an argument of strings, like this, and it will know how to display those as each as its own. Show chat. You always have to advance the chat at least once, and then this line here adds the event to the button that can advance the static chats. This advances it once, just so that way we're on that hello and we're not sitting looking at my default text. Show chat calls in the prefab and opens it. One thing you want to watch out when you're using a prefab is I noticed that if you destroy the copy, if you don't destroy the copy and you destroy the original, I noticed that there was a problem. So that was one thing that I learned while working on this, and I didn't know why it worked, and I was not able to sleep, and then all of a sudden I realized that I was not deleting the instantiated object when I destroyed it and got to the end of the chat. So this is the chat engine class, and that's how I'm creating that there. This chat, that is my game object here, and I just dragged the prefab on there. That's why it's just marked public, and it doesn't need to find it or anything because it knows where that's at. And that's the only thing that will need to be done per se, like per room or whatnot. If I'm not using the same script over and over again, is I'll have to put that prefab on there, but that's much easier than figuring out what scripts to lay everywhere. So all right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at this. We're gonna fire up the play. Took just a minute to start there. Okay, so sorry about this. I made a mistake. I must not have saved it or something like that. Yeah, I didn't save. This little star means you did not save your code, so that would be why it did not show us the result we wanted here. Because this is the test script, so I just comment things out and whatnot to show how things work and test how things work. And I didn't save it there, so I hit play this time, and you will see a different result. I promise you. It says hello. You hit next. It gives you that next dialog in the array, and then a next in another chat. Boom, it's gone. And that'll be how that works. I'll probably expand on that, like put the NPC's name and stuff in it and everything like that. But other than that, that's how a static chat will be called in, or maybe a narrating session if I need it to be. So we know we have a refresh table because this code ran. We're going to go ahead and comment out any elements of the static chat. And now we are going to test the database-driven chat. Okay. Originally, I was doing it in JSON, and that's what this is. But that became harder to manage, and to do it right, I knew I needed to use the database. So we use the database, and all you need to do is pass the NPC name along with that prefab that you're using. Make sure I save this time so we don't have that little mishap that we had. Okay, my cat Fluffy. He has been missing. Can you help me? Now, if you hit no, it'll just destroy the chat because obviously you did not accept the chat. And so nothing happened, you didn't accept it. No, nothing was updated in the database. Let's go ahead and look at the chat's temp so you can see what's going on here. The status is still new because you did not accept the quest. And that's pretty much the gist of it. It didn't have to do anything because, well, you didn't accept the quest. And also in the quest temp, this would have changed to the status of started instead of being not started. So back to the chats temp into Unity, and let's go back into our code. This time we're going to accept. I was just taking a quick look there. This time we're going to accept the quest, and you'll see the changes behind the scenes. Is what we will take a look at. My cat Fluffy, he has been missing. Can you help me? Yes. And I do some console logging. Console logging is a great way to see what's going on. So that is that. And so our changes in the database have now taken place. So I'm going to refresh this so you can see now we are in status received. So if you chat again, you're going to see that received dialog, as well as when you look at the quest, you're going to see that it's now in the started dialog. So when the quest is received, nothing happens until this is updated and it is set to complete. And I have code to do that, but we're going to do that with this viewing engine here because it's just easier for demonstration purposes. So we're going to go ahead and go back in there, and we're going to see the receive status. So you accept the request, and then the next chat is, that is great, thank you. I also use delimiters to achieve, like, if there's more than one dialogue, if you need a next button and whatnot. And then if there's a certain delimiter, then that means that there's a yes or no question. And I'll show you that at the end, and we'll get to that. It's a common programming concept, but if you're not used to programming, then a delimiter might be like, oh man, what is he talking about? So we'll look at that at the end on how I did that. So we'll go in here. This quest is now complete, so we'll mark it with a Y. And then write the changes to the database. You can also write your own scripts and just use SQL, but SQLite, I don't want to write a bunch of scripts. I don't want to script all the time, as much as I like programming. So now we know that the quest is done. This time when we do it, if you were to initiate that dialogue with that NPC again, thank you for finding Fluffy, because you found it, you completed the quest. You will have to be more careful next time. Bada bing, bada boom. And then when that happens, this is actually a good time to check this because I don't remember if I did that update or not. we're on the final. So you're going to see that last thing now because you were in received, you completed the quest. It checked to see if you completed the quest, then it gave you the complete notification. And then it says reward given. There's a function that runs that, updates this, and that is when I would also access the inventory engines class and then pass the item or whatever reward is being given to the hero at that time. So one more time, we're going to look at it just to see that final dialogue. What is a man without his cat? So that's exciting. We just saved that guy's cat, even though there was no sprites or anything. Um, that's how that's going to work. I'm going to develop all the tooling for this game first, and I'm doing a little bit of drawing on the sprites, and I actually do have the characters themselves drawn, and you can look at those on Devil Team as well. So I promised we'd go back and look at those delimiters. So here's the delimiters. So my code runs a split function after it finds out what's in this field here, this new field, and it says, okay, there's a colon. All right, that's gonna be one chat. There's a colon, one chat. When it sees this pipe delimit, it goes, oh, I need to receive input here. So that's when I'm getting the input from the user, and I'm adding those yes or no buttons and adding their events, so that way the user can interact with that chat in a different way. So that's pretty much the gist of the chat engine. I hope that I explained it well. Join me next time and we'll be going over the inventory engine. I do not know that if I will have it done, but I can show you what I have so far, as I want to keep interacting with everyone that does care about this project as I'm working on it. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Keep an eye on backofmydaygames.com.